So what are FIFA 21's predictions for the 2021-22 season? Well, we're going to find out in today's video. We're going to look through the whole entire table. We're going to look at the Premier League table, and we're also going to look at the League One table as well to see what 6 new teams will go through to the 2022-23 season. I'm going to give BenHD a shout out because he did this idea, I think, around 2 weeks ago. I've not done this idea for my channel, so I think it'll be nice to have this sort of video on my channel. If you guys like what you see, please make sure you do give this video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Please subscribe if you're new. It does really help. We want to try and keep the subscriber train going. We're doing absolutely well at the moment, and please share this channel to as many people as you can. That really helps the channel. But without any further ado, let's see what FIFA 21 is going to predict to get promoted from the championship and who they think will be getting relegated. So as you can see here, I am being Queen's Park Rangers in this career mode. You may think why, but this is just me giving you an announcement of what my next team on my Football Tales is going to be this week. It is going to be Queen's Park Rangers. I'm intrigued and excited to get that video out to you guys very, very soon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate all the way to the end of the season, which is going to be May 2022. Of course, in FIFA it'll be 2021. Let's go right to the end of the month, because by that time the playoffs should also be done. Let's simulate, and I'll see you guys when this simulation is done. So that is the end of the season done, guys. For what I know, I've not been sacked, but it doesn't mean that we finish in a really good position. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to go back and we're going to go straight to the table, and we're going to see where all the teams are finished. So, wow, look at this. Okay, so Fulham are first with 113 points. 3 defeats all season. They trounced Reading's old 106-point record. West Brom in second place. They get automatically promoted. But by 1 point, Sheffield United are third and will have to be playing via the playoffs. Wow, I mean, West Brom, I think, will be aiming to get promoted as well. Maybe even probably the favourites to go up, in first place. Blimey, the 3 relegated teams doing the best of the 3 teams by a long way. Now, the playoff picture is interesting. Look at this. 4th place is Blackburn Rovers. Now, I've got to be honest, I don't think Blackburn will finish that high at the moment. They need to make more transfers to convince me that they can finish in that position. They've recently lost in a preseason against Bradford. I have expected to see a lot more from them. And at the moment, they just seem to be a team that I just don't see improving. So I don't know why Blackburn are this high up. It'll take a minor miracle. I mean, we see one team that shocks everyone, gets into the top 6. Maybe Blackburn could be that team. Bournemouth 5th. Doesn't surprise me. If anything, against Scott Parker, and you'd expect Bournemouth to finish a little bit higher than that, 83 points. Nottingham Forest 6th is interesting. Chris Hughton now with a full season under Nottingham Forest. Can he get this Nottingham Forest side to improve and to get into the top 6? But one team I can't agree with. 7th place is Derby County. I don't think they'll finish that high up. If I've got to be honest right now, based on what Wayne Rooney's been saying in his interviews, they recently lost to Salford, and Wayne Rooney, when he's not in a club, he's doing the interview and he's, basically crying for help. But he really needs some more players to just fill this squad, because they've been completely depleted of quality, but also with their embargo, it's going to be very, very difficult for them. 8th place is Preston. That's interesting. So it is an improvement on last season with 66 points as well, which is a pretty amiable effort for Preston. I think they will take 8th place right now based on the manager they got. 9th place is Reading. That's also interesting. So a little bit of a drop from last season. Reading are a very erratic team. They can either be pushing for promotion or they could be fighting a relegation battle. There just doesn't seem to be an in-between. Millwall 10th. That's interesting. Their pre-season hasn't been too impressive for me. I know they recently lost 4-1 to Arsenal recently, but I do like quite a fair few for transfers they've made so far. I think if they just approach the season in the right way and Gary Rowett improves his consistency with that team, I think Millwall could be right around up there. 11th place Coventry, that is a big improvement of last season. They finished 16th last season, of course. 61 points as well for Coventry, which would actually be their best points return ever in the Championship. Look at that, Swansea all the way down in 12th. And honestly, that could be a bit of a realistic prediction right now. Of course, they lost Steve Cooper. And what was really shocking, I did allude to this in the video, the board knew 2 weeks beforehand that Steve Cooper was going to get sacked, and you'd hope by this time that when Cooper left pre-season, and he was good enough to actually do pre-season with the squad that he had, that they wouldn't replace a manager by that time. They're still looking for a manager. One thing that's interesting, of course, we heard yesterday that John Terry did leave his position as Aston Villa assistant head coach. Could he be starting to take over the Swansea role? Who knows? 13th place Middlesbrough, a bit of a decline actually. They finished 10th last season, of course. Neil Warnock will definitely be pushing Middlesbrough to be up there in the top half of the table. That would be quite a disappointing season for Middlesbrough. Stoke in 14th is interesting, pretty much matching their position from last season as well. I think Stoke will definitely be wanting to push higher, and they have looked quite good in pre-season. They have beat Aston Villa quite recently, so I think Stoke can definitely improve on that. 15th place is Queen's Park Rangers, and that is where my team is, Queen's Park Rangers. We've got a lot of teams at 60 points. In fact, Swansea to Huddersfield, all the way down to 16th, have all got 60 points, so it's been a really, really close table. Queen's Park Rangers, I think for me, are a real dark horse. I think with the transfers they've got, with them recently getting Stefan Johansson, I mentioned this in the last video, that this is going to be a big transfer for Queen's Park Rangers. And just seeing that performance against United, how good Lee Wallace was, how good Elias Chair was, rivering through in the midfield, how good Charlie Austin and Lyndon Dykes were. I know it was a pretty strong Queen's Park Rangers squad against a pretty weak Manchester United side, to be honest. But for them to play that sort of football at that stage of the season is really encouraging, and I'm really excited about Queen's Park Rangers this year. Huddersfield in 16th is interesting, obviously with 60 points. That is an improvement on last season, and I think Huddersfield more than anything would want an improvement. 17th place is intriguing, Cardiff City. Now, under Mick McCarthy, he definitely would be wanting Cardiff to try and get into the top 6, and you will now have a full season in charge of Cardiff as well. So, a bit of a shocking one for me, especially with the transfers they got so far. They haven't really lost anyone that significant. I know they've lost Harry Wilson, who of course they had on loan last time, but to be honest with you, he didn't really set Cardiff alight, to be honest with you. 18th place Bristol City, intriguing to say the least, 50 points from Bristol City. Of course, a full season under Nigel Pearson. Definitely, I think the minimum priority will be them to survive, but also, why not they can try and push for a little bit higher? I think, obviously, with the poor momentum they had at the end of the season, I think for the fact that Bristol City has survived, they have somehow changed their momentum, which I think they will definitely want. Bristol City would definitely want to try and fix their momentum as soon as they can. 19th place, Barnsley is interesting as well. Of course, they've now got Marcus Schopp as their manager. Not really a manager full of championship experience, but I do like the style of football he's playing, and he's got Barnsley to play some pretty good stuff. I was very convinced with their victory over Sheffield Wednesday. I was very, very impressed with what I saw defensively and going forward as well. So I think Marcus Schopp is the right option. I could potentially change my mind if Barnsley have a really tough start to the season, but I'm liking the football they're playing under him. 20th place Peterborough. Now that is a pretty shocking prediction, maybe. I mean, Peterborough would definitely be wanting to survive in the season, because Peterborough typically have not had many championship seasons. They've only had 3 championship seasons, so the fact they finished 20th place in this season and the fact they can have a season after that will be an incredible achievement for this Peterborough side. It will definitely be their biggest achievement come this decade. Now, who finishes in 21st, just above the relegation zone? It is Hull. So 2 of the newly promoted teams survive in the championship, both on 47 points, so very, very close. Literally by goal difference is why Hull is below Peterborough here. Hull is definitely another team that, they'd want to survive in the season. Not many people are 100% convinced of the squad they've got. I think more or less the manager as well, when he did have his one season in the championship with Hull, whilst they did start well, they had a really poor end to the season, and Hull in League One did definitely play that season full of momentum. They had poor momentum followed by good momentum. If they can tie down some consistency and some good consistency of results, then I think Hull will definitely survive the season. I'm really excited about Andy Cannon. He scored an absolute screamer in pre-season. I think it was against Scunthorpe. It was an absolute strike. So I'm interested to see how Andy Cannon gets on in the championship. So now we've unveiled every single team who have survived. So who is going down getting relegated? 22nd is Luton Town. Now that is a shocking prediction for me, because I think likewise with Queen's Park Rangers, Luton Town are going to be one of my dark horses this year. I've been really impressed with them in pre-season. Elijah Adebayo had a brilliant performance against Portsmouth last pre-season game that Luton played. I've been really impressed with Carlos Mendes Gomez as well. Overall, I've been really impressed with Luton, and I don't really think they'll go down at all unless they are bombarded with injuries and maybe Nathan Jones will be taken by another club potentially. 23rd is Birmingham, another shocking prediction for me. I think Birmingham will survive with a full season under Lee Bowyer. I'm liking the optimism that Birmingham have under him. Their pre-season results have varied a little bit, but I'm liking the transfers they've made. I like for that they got Castillo and Tao Chong as well. I think they'll actually be good signs for Birmingham, and I do think they'll survive. 39 points is quite appalling, but it means 24th is going to be Blackpool. It is Blackpool. 25 points. They've not given Blackpool a chance as well. So, 6 wins for Blackpool, 33 defeats. That is an appalling championship season for Blackpool. I think they can offer better than that. You know, they definitely didn't do too well in their last season of the championship where they got relegated with 26 points. But there were board troubles and there was a lot of protests and that. There was a lot of things going on. With Blackpool really going the other way and turning the tide of their fortunes, I almost think it could definitely help them. They'll definitely relish being underdogs. Neil Critchley, this will be an incredible challenge for him, and I'm really excited to see how this Blackpool side get on, because they have made quite a load of signings, and I'm really intrigued to see how they go on. So now we've uncovered our promotion and relegation. So Blackpool, Birmingham and Luton going down, and we have Fulham, West Brom going up, and we've got Sheffield United, Blackburn, Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest in the top 6. So now we've covered who has gone relegated and who has got promoted. Let's see who is going to get promoted with Fulham and West Brom in the Championship playoffs. So you've either got Sheffield United, Blackburn, Bournemouth or Nottingham Forest. Let's find out. It is Sheffield United who beat Bournemouth in the Championship playoff final. Unbelievable. So all 3 of the recently relegated teams go straight back up into the Premier League. That is a bold prediction from FIFA 21, but actually might not be too far wrong. So let's actually now check how the rest of the leagues have done. So let's look at the Premier League and League One and see where all the other teams have finished. So in the Premier League, let's look for the recently promoted teams. So look at this. They have finished right next to each other. Now Norwich and Watford, unfortunately, are getting relegated with Brighton and Hove Albion with only 18 points. But look at that. The only newly promoted team to survive is the Championship playoff winners, Brentford, with only 29 points. Blimey. The newly promoted teams didn't do too well in terms of the point collecting. Leeds 12th is interesting. And it looks like the winners was Chelsea with 95 points. Now, that is a sight I wouldn't mind seeing as a Chelsea fan. Let's quickly look at League One now. And let's see how the recently relegated teams have got on into League One. Okay, so Sheffield Wednesday, Rotherham and Wickham have actually all finished in the top 3. So the recently relegated teams have finished in the top 3. So pretty bold from FIFA actually. The recently relegated teams in the Championship finished top 3. But the recently relegated teams in the Championship also finished the top 3 in League 1. They overtake the likes of Sunderland, Lincoln and Portsmouth, who are the other teams in the top 6. Ipswich 8th is a bit of a shocking prediction. I think Ipswich will have a really good year this year. Before we go, let's look at these player stats. Now, it looks like Grant for West Brom. So I think that's Carlin Grant of West Brom, the top goal scorer with 24 goals. Ruben Loftus-Cheek of Chelsea/Fulham is the second top goal scorer with 21 goals. Cauley Woodrow of Barnsley has 19 goals. So Barnsley didn't have an amazing season, but Cauley Woodrow definitely had a breakout season there. Ben Brereton, 17 goals. Interesting that the FIFA's predicted Ben Brereton Diaz to get 17 goals as well. But look at that, Peterborough have even got an entry in the top 15. Johnson Clark-Harris with 12 goals. That is a brilliant season for Johnson Clark-Harris and Peterborough there. Let's look at the assists. Adam Lookman for Fulham has got 9 assists. I mean, honestly, with that Fulham squad, a lot of these players have gone anyway. So I think we're going to definitely see a very different Fulham squad in the Championship. Harvey Elliott, I mean, he's not around in Blackburn anymore, so you definitely won't see him anymore. But John Swift of Reading's interesting. 8 assists. And I think this is going to have to be a big season for John Swift. He has been injured for a lot of last season, and I think if he can maintain his injury record this season, he's going to have a really big season. Now, since I had Queen's Park Rangers, I'm going to quickly look at Queen's Park Rangers' stats overall and see who was the best performers. So, Seni Dieng was their most prominent goalkeeper with 40 appearances, 2 assists and 5 clean sheets. Not a bad effort there. Lyndon Dykes with 35 appearances, 9 goals. But look at that, from Kian Prince. So that, of course, is the Kian Prince card that was actually introduced into FIFA. 43 appearances and 14 goals. Unbelievable. 35 appearances for Johansson with 3 goals and 6 assists. I think he'll have a similarly important impact for next season. Tom Carroll's an interesting one. 5 goals in 27 appearances. He could have a big season. Elias Chair with only 17 appearances. I don't think that's going to happen. Yohan Barbe playing every single championship game with 2 goals, 2 assists. I think a very underrated player, Yohan Barbe, to be honest with you. And that is pretty much everyone that I needed to look at. So, obviously, FIFA's predictions in full. To reiterate, Fulham going up with 113 points. West Brom in second with 91. Sheffield United getting promoted via the playoffs. And the teams getting relegated are going to be Blackpool, Birmingham, Luton. Teams relegated for the Premier League are Brighton, Watford and Norwich. So 2 of the recently promoted teams going back down, Brentford surviving. And the teams promoted from League One, for what we know, is definitely Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday, and we can assume that Wigan have won the playoffs for the fact that they finished 3rd place in their season. But that wraps it up for FIFA's predictions in this video today. If you guys enjoyed it, please give the video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Please subscribe if you're new. It does really help. And please share this channel to as many people as you can. It does really help. But that wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary. So, the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care.